These fucking grotesque scoundrels are despicable. The fear of death is itself a form of death. Look around, I see the dead. To say they deserve to die is almost superfluous. They're already dead. The dead will choose death because they've already died. Sophia was a whore, and her abortion was a failure. You got this abomination that gets poisoned through all five senses on a daily basis and has been taking in that frequency of just pure defecation, pure, utter, vindictive, evil lies, that they've become one with it. And now they're vibrating at that frequency. And because they're vibrating at the frequency of deception, they attract to them what they deserve. They attract to them what they are. They get what they are a frequency match to. And they're my enemy because I'm not at that frequency. But because the majority of human beings are, I have to live in the world that they're manifesting collectively when I didn't do a fucking thing. That's one thing I despise about this reality. I despise the fact that it works like a democracy of mentalism. If everybody in the world wants to believe that 2 + 2 = 74, and there's people like me who are a minority who say, no, fuck you, I beg to differ. It stands to reason that 2 + 2 = 4, and then they say, fuck you. You got millions of people. It's just me standing here. I got millions of people saying, fuck you. It equals 17. And I got to live in that world. I got to live in that world. You know what the lie is ultimately? The computation of false data, which is the cause of all suffering, is error. That's what it is. Like a machine that cannot compute. It's a glitch in the matrix. When somebody goes into agreement with the lie, and you put that thought form out into the universe, and you have enough people doing it, what happens is that manifestation of creating hell on earth that you see all around you is error. It's like going into a calculator and insisting that 5 + 5 = 99. And then it's going to say, excuse me, no, you're fucking wrong. And when it's like, what? No. When it's like error or whatever, that's what this reality is. It's that error. Okay? Because if it is true that this is a simulation and all is mind and the universe is mental, it only makes sense that if the input-output relationship, that which goes into the organism that they take into their being is going to reflect outward and create the manifested world, it only makes sense that if you put deceit and give them the reverse of truth in all things, and they take that in through the institutions. See, they become institutionalized, like a mental institution. You know, every corporation is a corpse. That's why you are incorporated, making a corpse out of you. You go through this process of insidious encroachment. You go through its death by 1,000 cuts, you see. It doesn't happen overnight. We're all born with our third eyes open. We're all born not good or evil, but probably at least decent, with the potential to become good if you're raised properly. But they're not raised properly. They start school when they're like 4 years old, and I believe it's 50,000 hours of indoctrination. Not to mention all the homework that they're forced to do. Not to mention the authoritarian personality type of the parental figures. I also find it quite grotesque that we're born into a world where we're literally born into slavery, but it's a domesticated slavery. It's slavery of the household. It's slavery of the parental figures, of the teacher, where you're not allowed to be cause with your own self-determinism. You are the effect at the mercy of alien wills forcing it upon you. And by the time you're 18 years old and you go through the positive and negative reinforcement of, okay, for my own survival, because we want to seek pleasure and avoid pain. If I want to avoid pain, I got to do what mommy and daddy says. I got to do what the teacher says. I got to do what my boss says, because I need the love and approval of my parents. I need to conform to society because I need the love and approval of my peers. I need validation. I need to be accepted. I need to be loved. And disobedience equals your parents punishing you, maybe smacking you across the mouth, spanking you, grounding you, making your life a living hell for the first fucking 18, maybe more years of your life. And then your brain gets wired. You start to make these neurological connections that runs like a circuit. And it turns into this stimulus response, because when your brain is literally forming yourself, that's why they call it the formative years, because it can be likened to a format on a computer. See, it's not a coincidence that it works out this way with our language, right? The brain, when it's literally growing itself, as it's wiring, all of the experiences that happens when the child is, I believe it's up until 12 years old. It's either, I believe it's the theta state. And it's a very hypnagogic age. That's why we don't remember our childhood particularly well. We might remember little bits and pieces, but we don't remember it that well. And that's because we were in this very hypnagogic state. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we're born into a world where for the first few years of our life, we're in the most hypnagogic, easily hypnotizable, open to suggestion state, when we have all of this psychic attack that is being ingrained into our brain. The brain, when it comes to the child, starts to form a slave complex because of positive and negative reinforcement. Disobedience will be met with negative reinforcement, like rubbing a dog's nose in its own shit that it left on the carpet. You know what I mean? But when it's a good boy and it does what it's told, and it's you sit down when I tell you to sit down, I rub your belly. If you do a trick, I'll give you a treat. But if you sit on the furniture and you don't do as your fucking master says, then I'm gonna smack you around. You're gonna get that negative reinforcement, right? It's like that at school. You're a fucking slave. You got to do what your teachers say. You got to do it. You know where I'm going with this. So what it does is, by the time you fucking graduate high school and you go through that black magic ritual that I just talked about, your brain has literally been wired, and you have these neural pathways that are firing in a certain direction that indicates, in order for me to survive, in order for me to get pleasure and avoid pain, I must do what it is that I am told. And this mechanism is a slave complex. Okay? As an antidote, I go to Walmart. I'm in the parking lot, and there's this propaganda microphone just blaring this obnoxious repetition that is just so infuriating to me. It's like something out of a dystopian science fiction horror movie that says, "Thank you for shopping at Walmart. Be sure to keep 6 feet distance at all times to ensure the safety of our customers. Be sure to wear your mask at all times before entering the premises. Be sure to engage in our complimentary hand sanitizers," and just blah, 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 blah. And it was like a broken record. And it was so loud, and it was so offensive. It was noise pollution. I couldn't get away from it fast enough. And I'm just watching everybody just, completely acquiesce. And just with their face mask, you look into their eyes and you can just see that they're totally dead. It's because they have no will of their own. I go into Walmart, and there's a security guard. She won't let me in. She's being a real authoritarian bitch. She's like, "You're not going to come in unless you wear a mask." But I look at and I read what her mask says. It says right here, as she says, I'm looking at it, she's so fucking dead. She's just, "Sir, you must wear a mask before like a zombie." And it says right here, "Hell no. Ain't no COVID getting in here." She was kind of a diva. She had these dreadlocks, and she was African American, and she just had that type of a personality. And I was just like, just fucking beside myself. Just fucking beside myself. That not only are they such perfect subhuman slaves to the point where they will just do whatever the fucking government tells them to do under the guise of safety, but really it's slavery. But they'll just bask in their own inversion, just bask in their own retardation. They're self-congratulatory and braggadocious in regards to their sickness. They love being sick, and they love to flaunt it. Like a beautiful woman likes to flaunt her body. They like to flaunt their demonic ignorance every fucking where I go. I look around and I'm saying, is anybody's name in the book of life? I look around, I go into Walmart, I look into people's eyes, and I start to get really angry because, I mean, there's some shit that I need to get, and everywhere I go, they tell me I gotta wear a mask. Pretty soon I get frustrated, I'm sick of the confrontation, and I fucking put it on and just breathe through my nose. And then I realize, like, you're not fucking worthy to breathe the same air as me because you're just so beneath me. With you're a soulless fucking animal. You're dead. You don't fucking matter. Okay? You don't have any free will of your own, and you're gonna force your fucking inversion on me and harass me and just make my life a living hell every fucking where I go. Deprive my fucking brain of oxygen. Deprive me of the Holy Spirit, which is breath. And I don't have a choice in the matter. You got LA County saying, hey, you got to have a curfew. You're not allowed to leave the house after 10 o'clock unless you have a good fucking reason in writing, or else you're gonna get a fucking $1,000 ticket. And then you got these, and keep in mind, they're supposed to be the light at the end of the tunnel. They're supposed to be the resistance. You got these protesters that show up at Newsom's house, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a positive sign. But a lot of them are waving Blue Lives Matter flags. And I'm thinking to myself, this machine is broken. You want to talk about controlled opposition? These soulless fucking animals are on both sides. They're the ones who are, they're like the beast with two heads. They play on every fucking side. You know, they're the ones that are like, yay for mask, yay for lockdown. And they're also the people that say, no lockdown, no mask, because you have to have the duality. And they play the same fucking part. It's, you know, I mean, think about how broken they are. Think about how broken this machine is. They're waving Blue Lives Matter flags in protest of the mandating of a fucking curfew, when it is not Newsom, but the police that are going to pull you over, write a ticket, and enforce the curfew. You know, they're the ones that show up at your house, turn off the electricity, and write you a ticket for having a gathering of more than 5 or more people. They're the agents that are the order followers that are enforcing this fucking tyranny, and you're gonna pretend to be like you're a part of the resistance and say, Blue Lives Matter, no more lockdown. It's not fucking... I don't know if it's like, it's not human or it's all too human. I really just don't know at this point. But whatever this dead machine is, it plays both sides of the fence. You know, a lot of times people get excited and they'll say, hey, there's this person who's who says he's anti-lockdown, and he doesn't like wearing masks, and you know, maybe this person is on our side. And I say, not necessarily. If you understand the law of duality, it says that where one exists, the opposite has to exist. There always has to be an antithesis. And when it comes to these laws of duality, just like you have white people and you have black people, just like you have males and females, just like you got left and right, they're all on the same fucking side of the fence, right? It's all the same fucking singularity. And that singularity is absolutely evil, and it's a schism. It's like, it can symbolically be represented as an open wound where one bloody side of the flapping skin thinks it's better than the other side of the bloody flapping skin. It's like an open fucking gash, a flesh wound, and then the other side is at conflict with the other side, so it thinks, but really it's in conflict with itself. You see, it's like you fucking MGTOW idiots. Men going their own way, blah, 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 fuck women. And there are these dumb, stupid whores that are like, fuck male, fuck patriarchy. And you guys think you're so different, but you're fucking not. It's the same destruction of the family unit. It's the same destruction of... You want to know what the epitome of divide and conquer is? Divide and conquer is to make the sheep at odds with itself, which is a delusion. It wants the black sheep to hate the sheep with the white wool and vice versa. It wants the sheep with a dick to hate the sheep with the vagina. At the end of the day, what you guys don't realize is you're all fucking sheep. It doesn't matter if you're wearing a MAGA hat. It doesn't matter if you're wearing a fucking Biden hat. You're all fucking sheep. And who you really should be going against is the fucking shepherd. But you don't see the shepherd. Where prominent men have prominent noses, and by their nose you shall know them. By their nose you shall know them, but nobody wants to take measurements of the shepherd. They want to say, my fellow sheep are my enemy, but they don't see the shepherd leading them to slaughter, and that's the problem. You got to understand, these sheep, they play both sides of the fence. They're the right and they're the left. I don't like the game of lesser of two evils. There's no such thing as lesser of two evils. That's an oxymoron. That's an impossibility. Evil is fucking evil, okay? And there's no such thing as a necessary evil either. Or it could be worse. So why don't you just be thankful? You know, you want to complain about, that people make the argument about, oh, it could be worse. You know, I complain about some of the shit that's going on in California, and they say, oh, it could be worse. At least we're not England. At least we're not Australia. Oh, the measurements over there are way fucking worse. And I'm like, yeah, but if we don't do something... And look what happened. Look at what they fucking did like 5 months ago. Probably still going on today in Australia with the curfew. At Danny Andrews fucker. And then they're doing the same thing here. And then they're like, oh, well, it could always be worse. Like, I mean, you know, you got a nice warm bed to sleep in. You got food in your stomach. You know? At least your business didn't get shut down. So what the fuck are you complaining about? It could always be worse. Like, fuck you, man. It can always be worse. It's so disgusting to me. The human putrid. I really just, I get very frustrated, but I think it's righteous indignation, and I think my vitriol comes from a place that is justified, because I see what's happening. I see where the artificial intelligence is going with this, and it's getting to the point where it's almost impossible for me to resist, because I am not a one-man army, okay? I can't just... It's like one man against the whole fucking world, okay? Or people who I think are on my side, but really they're the same type of people that will show up at a protest waving a fucking Q flag and think that they're making a difference. It's so fucking ridiculous. I don't go to these fucking protests because I see, like, this is the best you can do. This is the best you can do, you know? And then if I want to talk about an immune system response, where tyrannical government gets overthrown. Oh, I'm so extreme. There's always been an awakening happening. Yeah, the thing that amazes me about these Q-fucks is the most unprecedented violation of human rights in literally fucking American history just happened to take place when Donald Trump was in office. But then they'll say, yeah, but you know what? It's not him, it's the deep state. The state will not save you from the state. Never. It's an impossibility. For it is the antithesis of freedom. Government and slavery are synonyms. It is a predator. an energy vampire, a parasite. Its basic characteristics would be an authoritarian personality type that is psychopathic by nature. And its modus operandi is to force its will through either violence or the threat of violence upon the 99% which it views as its subject. It is egomaniacal. It views itself as the superior cause, and it views the 99% as the inferior effect that must succumb to its dictates. Okay? To say that a hero is going to emerge from within to overthrow the deep state is like saying that within this malignant tumor that's in the palm of my hand, there are anti-cancer elements from within the cancer that are working to destroy itself as a cancer. What? I just lost for words. Makes my brain want to explode that I even have to explain this, because this should just be very obvious. The Orwellian boot that is on the throat of humanity forever and ever is not going to be removed unless the 99% grow a pair of balls and remove it themselves by either peaceful non-compliance, saying, fuck the system, I do not consent, or revolutionary rebellion. But the boot is not going to remove itself. But to say that there's somebody on the inside is like saying that the boot itself, because of characteristics and circumstances, people on the inside of the Orwellian boot on our throat, is going to remove it. It absolutely makes no sense. It's like saying the inverted octopus that has its pedophilic tentacles and everything, somehow one of those tentacles is working for us, and it is working against the octopus. Government is a criminal organization that runs as a corporation. And the president, or I should say the ostensible president, because democracy is not what it seems, nor is the president of the United States what it seems, is essentially the chairman of the board of this corporation, or the CEO of this criminal enterprise. Now, again, we do not live in a democracy. Presidents are selected and not elected. It has been premeditated to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, to give you the illusion of free choice as a slave race, to give you the so-called privilege of being able to choose the master that you feel is right for you. And you got a left-winger and a right-winger, which gives us this Coke versus Pepsi propaganda, which is nothing more than the lesser of two evils. Well, when it comes to Trump, he is a cheerleader. He's like an 18-year-old girl with nice perky tits and pom-poms jumping up and down for 5G. He has openly expressed that he is excited to release it, and he's actually envious that China got theirs released before America, and it's a shame that we let China beat us to it. I mean, he's just completely going along with the program, and when I bring this to the attention of Q people, they usually say it's all just a part of his act because he has to get the vote. So then I say, okay, so you do agree that he's an actor. And then it's like that NPC meme where you trick the NPC and then he makes that angry face. That's kind of the same sort of an attitude that I get. They start to act like NPCs that are glitching as the broken machine that they are, and they just can't really contemplate what I just said and how I catch them in their own bullshit. Okay, so you're agreeing that he is an actor and he is full of shit. You know what I mean? Because they're like chicken heads when it comes to how they deep throat Donald's dick. And I think they need to get their stomach pumped because they're cock drunk. Absolutely. Like every time they're being an apologist and trying to romanticize him, like this is what I see. Well, you know, Trump is a constitutionalist and he can't override the 50 states. That would be unconstitutional. He can't override the 50 states. Can't over. And it's like, just get his dick out of your mouth. They can't think clearly. You know what I mean? Like, let me give you an example of just the absurdity of that statement. He can't override the 50 states because that would be unconstitutional. What good are you as the president of the United States? America consists of 50 states. And then you say, when all of this evil is running rampant in our midst, you're going to say, there's nothing I'm even going to attempt to do to talk some sense into these governors because I'm not going to override the 50 states, which is literally what America consists of, is 50 states. So all the 50 governors can just go ahead and do whatever the fuck they want. Do you understand how that is a philosophical bankruptcy? The word deep state is euphemistic language and a mind control slogan. And I'll tell you why. It's because it doesn't describe government as the meat grinder that it is, always has been, and always will be. It's a slaughterhouse where you and I are the ones on the meat hook. They paints the picture that it's not government, it's the deep state. There's just a few bad apples, a few bad cowboys. It's not the institution in and of itself that's evil, it's just the people behind it.